So my mother died by suicide in 2013. I was approaching my 40th birthday. And like a few months after she had passed, I still had all these appointments. When I went for my mammogram, they also did an ultrasound and they found LCIS, which is precancerous breast cells in my tissue. So I made a decision like right out of the gate and to have a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. So you have to like piece this, like my mom passed away in May of 2013. Like 3 months later, I find this information out. I was truly in survival mode.
Yeah, I can't.
But I was truly in that fight or flight, right, mode. And I was in my fight, like, okay, this is chaotic. I'm just going to have to do, these things I just wanted to get past it all, right? And I didn't want to deal with anything. I just wanted to get past it. So I had my surgery, I had the reconstruction, I had all of that done. And during that time, I was journaling all the emotions I was feeling about missing my mom. And I talk about my angst, that word core, that word shattered, all of that that's what was happening. I was broken. I had all this angst in my core, wanting my mom to be there during that time, and she wasn't. So those are the things I started journaling about, and that became Shattered to the Core.
When she smiles at you, she'll say, angels don't lie. Angels don't lie. Angels don't lie. No, no, angels don't lie. Angels don't lie. No, 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 no.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Angels Don't Lie. I'm so excited, literally thrilled to be here with I'm going to call you my dear friend. We've known each other for quite some time. And I've gotten to work with Valerie personally, and I'll explain later, but Valerie Walsh. So welcome, Valerie. Welcome.
Hi, Jeannie. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be here with you.
We're going to be talking about some big topics today, maybe too sensitive. We are going to be talking about loss, suicide, and the aftermath of that. So just so you're aware, that is a big topic today. So Valerie, we kind of date back. We've known each other for several years. We live in the same town.
Yes, we do. We have a wonderful community, huh?
We really do. And I remember I first met you at our local gym, and you were taking a class with me. And then, I had found out that you were pregnant. I was there that day that you announced that you were pregnant with your daughter, Bailey.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize. That's crazy. That's like almost 23 years ago then.
That's it. Yep. How time flies.
Yeah. So yeah, she was pretty much, both my kids were, raised in our local gym, handing out the towels to the members in the early morning classes. And yeah, that's crazy. Almost 23 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember because we were in the back classroom. I don't know what class we were taking or anything, but you were just young and, so full of life and excited, and obviously, and I always love witnessing those type of moments when, you're sharing something intimate, because it's so amazing.
Yeah. A really quick funny story with our second, when Colin was born, it took us a while to get pregnant. So, when you're trying, you buy like countless pregnancy tests. Yeah. And I remember taking one at the gym, and it was positive after like almost 4 or 5 years of trying, but I couldn't tell anybody because of course I wanted to tell my husband first. But one of our dear facilities people who's still there was cleaning the locker room. And I came out, and she didn't really speak much English at the time. Now she's come a long way. So I said, look, and I'm showing her the stick, and we both start jumping up and down. And like she said in Spanish and I said in English, we're like, oh, and I'm like, I know I can tell you because you won't tell anybody. Or at least my friends won't understand Spanish right now.
That's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
That's so special. So you've had quite the journey, and I got to know you a little bit more intimately this February when I was away, we were in Turks and Caicos, and I brought your brand new book, Shattered to the Core, with me. And I knew you had written this book. I was so excited to hear that you were going to be vulnerable and so brave, so freaking ass brave to go to a place that most of us don't want to go, which is not only to talk about how it affected you, but like, I think you just kind of like let us see all of your insides. It's very intimate. And I don't know, I just feel like it's such an important conversation to share with others. And I think that's why you wrote it.
I love this because, you and I haven't even talked about the book. Like, we're having a real authentic conversation about your thoughts on it and why I wrote it. All that is happening right now. Like, I haven't really gotten anything but a picture of you on the beach. Thanks for sending that. So many people sent a picture of Shattered to the Core. I was like, where in the world is Shattered to the Core? And many people read it on the beach. I wasn't jealous at all. So there's something really, really powerful. First of all, I wrote it as if nobody was going to read it. And I think that helped, to be honest with you.
Yes, right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you know what? I can't really edit what I'm going to say about certain things, because at the time when I was writing it, I wasn't writing my memoir. I was literally just journaling stuff that I was going through. So I probably wouldn't have remembered half of the stuff that I shared, Jeannie, to be honest with you, unless I journaled. Because it was so long ago. It took 7 years for me to piece that together.
I love that you just said that, because it's one of the most important things that we can do to commune with our spirit, to our soul, and to hear God, is to journal, because we can't quiet our mind in this busy world because there's so much going on all of the time. And journaling is one of the ways that we can get deep and quiet, and we can release.
100%. So many people have asked, like, what was your writing like? And a lot of it actually happened as a moving meditation like that. I would go on walks or hikes or runs and be listening to a song. Music really resonates with me, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And there'll be times when I'll hear something and I'll hear it a different way. When you hear a song a different way, depending on the mood you're in, or it can change the mood that you're in.
Yep.
So things would come to me when I was out, mostly, like most of what I wrote about, a lot of it came when I was exercising or outside. That's why I talk about that a lot in the book. And I would just start downloading everything. And that was like what you're talking about. For me, that was my experience connecting to spirit. Was everything that I was downloading at that time was coming out through like my moving meditations. And I would talk in my phone. So I pulled all of that from notes from my phone.
I have the chills right now.
Yeah.
I've been using my phone to take audio, and that's what I was doing when I was away too, is like, because it comes in part, it doesn't always come in like one sitting. It comes in parts when you are channeling, and then you piece it together like a puzzle.
And myself as a mental health advocate, I learned that we no longer say that somebody committed suicide. Because if we're truly thinking about suicide as the final symptom of somebody's deep, deep depression, and it's all complex and it's all different, if we think of it as an illness, we wouldn't say committed. It would be the same thing like saying if somebody committed cancer or committed a heart attack or like committed a crime. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So
it takes the illness out of it.
It takes the illness out of it when you say that. And I didn't know that, Jeannie, until
me either.
I actually, when I wrote the book and I handed in my the manuscript to be edited, I had a friend who was in the mental health community read parts of it, and she texted me. She's like, hey, if you don't mind me saying so, and she taught that to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I emailed the editor right away. I'm like, we have to do a global search in that document and see how many times I wrote that. And I wrote it a lot, committed suicide. When you know better, you do better. So we had that removed. So my mother died by suicide in 2013. I was approaching my 40th birthday. And like a few months after she had passed, I still had all these appointments like that I had made previously just for, all the simple things like the basic things you do with my gynecologist, with doing my first mammogram, like all those things. And when I went for my mammogram, they also did an ultrasound because I have very dense breast tissue. And they found LCIS, which is precancerous breast cells in my tissue. So I'm giving you a very condensed version, and I'll kind of backtrack. So I made a decision like right out of the gate, and to have a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction. So you have to like piece this. Like my mom passed away in May of 2013. Like 3 months later, I find this information out. I was truly in survival mode.
Yeah,
I can't. But I was truly in that fight or flight, right, mode. And I was in my fight, like, okay, this is chaotic. I'm just going to have to do, these things I just wanted to get past it all, right? And I didn't want to deal with anything. I just wanted to get past it. So I had my surgery, I had the reconstruction, I had all of that done. And during that time, I was journaling all the emotions I was feeling about missing my mom. And I talk about my angst, that word core, that word shattered, all of that, that's what was happening. I was broken. I had all this angst in my core, wanting my mom to be there during that time, and she wasn't. So those are the things I started journaling about, and that became Shattered to the Core.
Huge, right? Ginormous. And I like that you said that you jumped into, I want this to be done. Because I think it's important for us to understand that sometimes we react from a place of not being fully in our body, of being
100%.
We react from a suffering. And after reading your book, I mean, it was clear and very apparent that you have had so many different past traumas. And for me as a healer, like when I work with someone, that's one of the things that I kind of see over and over is we have these, what I call soul fragments, or pieces of our memory, of our soul that we've left behind in this experience, painful, we can call it traumatic, whatever word you want to use there. And then when we start reacting, when we have something big happen in our life, we are usually reacting from that point of view of a younger version of ourselves. We're not even in our adult body making that decision. And no wonder you didn't want to feel all of those things, because you had already felt so many disappointments. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of what came to me after reading your book, is there were so many times when you were just disappointed in not being parented.
We never stop wanting our moms, ever.
Yeah.
And I've never even taken a creative writing class. I'm actually taking my first one in May. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
I'm going to try not to beat myself up of, I should have done it that way, but anyhow, what I didn't realize, and for those of you who are taking notes here on how to write a book, don't take them from me. No, I didn't realize.
No.
When you're writing, when you put something in italic, that means you're thinking about it. When you put something in quotes, that means you actually said it. So when the editor was going through my manuscript, she came across some pretty tough things to read, and she would email me. She's like, did you say that or did you think it? Because they were so harsh, she didn't realize that, no, I actually said it out loud. And there was a part in the book where I talk about being in the closet, remember, and just crying out for my mom when Colin was doing his homework and I was cooking dinner. Like, it was one of those waves where, the grief comes in waves, and it hit me that particular moment. And that really was how it happened. And I journaled that moment right then and there, because I knew that I had to get it out. And I just was on the floor of my closet, whimpering, like, why? Where are you? Where are you? And I couldn't feel her. I didn't have any signs of her. We've known each other a long time. I considered myself a pretty intuitive person. All of that was shut down. And I was just broken in spirit, broken in receiving energy, all of that. And, I just had to go through what I had to go through to get where I am today. But it took a lot of deep surrender, Jeannie.
We had done a reading at one point, and I don't know what point in the journey it was. But I remember parts of it. And, pretty early on.
Yeah, pretty early on.
Yeah, and talk about like a lot going on. I mean, then, in your book you were sharing even like when people have their opinions about your decision making, about what you're going to do with your body, and that kind of backstory, which is really painful when you're a sensitive soul and you feel those words in your body. It's like it's so painful, right? Because then you're not even able to just be and navigate what you're going through. Now you're thinking, well, how is this? Now I have to defend who I am, or I have to explain who I am. And that's another painful experience, and another kind of remembrance of our past trauma too, right?
Yeah. It's that like there were just layers and layers and layers. But,
Yeah.
One of the lessons I learned and I wrote about was the lesson of comparison.
Yes.
And I did a lot of that. And I truly believe like most people, like, their intentions were good when they talked to me. They didn't mean to hurt me with their words. They just didn't know. Like, you don't know what to say sometimes. And it's an awkward thing.
When you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know. And so people like humor is one of my, go-tos to break the ice as a defense mechanism, all that stuff. And, the insensitive comments of, oh, at least you get a good pair of boobs out of it. Like I really, truly don't think that was ever to hurt me. And neither did they know how vulnerable I was at the time, because, I was putting on a pretty brave face.
Right.
And then I would go and hide in my office or go home, and I would have such anxiety and shame over, all of these things. Like, why can't you just, like, I would say to myself, like, why can't you just, be grateful that it's not cancer?
That's the little version of you that was still hanging out, that wasn't integrated back in. So the soul fragment parts have to get integrated back in, and they happen over experiences. And to me, this experience brought you so much healing of those past things. So I don't feel like there's any wrong decisions. I feel like our soul knows the direction innately to go in order to heal this stuff. And if we listen, if we're quiet and we follow, wow, then that's what kind of happens. And you're so right. Like what people have to say, it never is about us. But if you're reacting from the point of pain, from something that you're triggered from, of course you're reacting from a younger version that isn't in a mature state, that isn't in a calm, balanced, maybe you want to go check yourself before you wreck yourself, or even to receive it on a level of love, like, in a joke or whatever.
Yeah. And there's two ways. So I kind of wrote about, for people that are reading it, I've gotten a lot of feedback from men and husbands and brothers, and, just on the subject of breast cancer, or, preventative or not, going through a mastectomy, some helpful words you could say to a loved one.
Right. I love that, because that too, right?
Yeah.
And when you have the knowledge, then like you said, you can do better. Like and I think this is why books are so important, because they teach. And when you get intimate with someone in the pages, you get to see like, oh, that's a really beautiful way. And this is what God has intended for us. He's intended for us to love each other so much that we share, so we can support someone going through something similar in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not monitoring this, Jeannie, but we have some people watching.
We have lots of people watching, and I know you guys are texting in, and I'm going to pull up see if I can overview. I
love that we just went over, oh no, you're on a different time. I'm an hour before you right now, and I just went through 11:11.
11:11, nice. I'm going to scroll back and just say hello to a few people. I know you guys are on here. Sally, Shanda, Susan, hi. Melissa, hi Melissa, haven't seen in so long, glad you're here. Missed you guys too. Carrie Lee Clash is here. Hi honey, how are you? Sally, let's see. Yeah, we see your phone calls. I'm going to take your calls in just a minute.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer lots of questions. As you guys all know, I'm pretty much an open book at this point.
Yes, perfect. Somebody said they want your book. I can read some of them, but I can't read all of them for some reason.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon and pretty much where books are sold at this point. I know that's been the best part about this, Jeannie, is just connecting with people, having these conversations, is so great. And there's layers of this. I've been having
So
conversations
many
about
layers.
health. I've been having conversations about, tools for recovery from addiction, different types of addiction. And
yes, that's right, because I forgot that's in here too. This is jam-packed, you guys. I got it upside down. Like, I forgot that part. That's a huge piece in here, is you do talk about addiction. You talk about your own recovery and what that looks like for you, and huge.
So I want to maybe this will give people an idea of some things they can call in about. But when you talked about healing, so my real godlike moment was a conversation I had with my aunts, my Aunt Donna, my mother's sister. So the manuscript was pieced together. It was out. The only person that had a copy of it was my line editor, Elizabeth Copps. She's an awesome lady, and she lives out in Colorado. Love her. So she read it, and she was making all of her line edits. And it was the first person to tell me, basically, you have something here. And, line editors, they go through it piece by piece. They don't, change anything or write anything for you. They're just going through grammatically. And she said, but I really need to know a little bit more about your mom. And honestly, up until that point, I was still like having a hard time looking at a photograph of my mother, much less talking to another family member about her. And this was like going into early 2020. Okay. That's 7 years later after she had passed away. So she's like, if you would feel comfortable, I would really encourage you to, interview a family member about exactly who your mom was when she was a young woman. Because, she was a mother by the time she was 18 years old, had my sister when she was 18, had me when she was 19. So I called my aunt up, and she lives locally. And I said, can we sit down and talk about mom for a little bit? And she needed it as much as I did. She was like, absolutely. Come on over. So I came over, I went over to her house. I told her I wanted to record it on my phone so I can go back and piece it all together and just kind of be present in our conversation. A couple hours later, I left her house, like literally driving in the car. I wasn't sad. Nothing about what she said made me cry. I felt euphoric. I felt like I just got done, like after a good workout, like endorphins were like pumping through my body. And that's the power of healing. Like that moment, that conversation, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to write about this. My mom's amazing. Look what all she went through as a mother, as a friend, as a sister, as a warrior, being a young single mother. Like I was so excited to then put it on paper and share who she was and how we can, like, she gave me this map, right? She gave me this map, like, look at what happened in my life. You have my complete blessing to share about this because I didn't share about my pain, and look what happened. So here's your map. You can share that with your daughter. She's going to have a map. And I don't mean to exclude sons in this because my son has certainly taken out his personal piece of it too. It was such an incredible gift, Jeannie. Like it was literally like, oh, okay. I know for a fact she wants me to do this. I have her blessing.
That's amazing. And for those of you just joining, we are going to take your calls, and we're speaking about, I'm going to let you say exactly how you worded it, because you say it so eloquently about the loss of your mom. And
so we're speaking about lots of different things. Most importantly, I like to talk about what we can do to prevent falling down that rabbit hole of depression. And my mom's final symptom of her depression was suicide. I know it's a complex subject, and by no means am I an expert. I simply share my story and what I did, and maybe somebody will take a piece of that. Luckily in this life, we have tons of tools. So if I share the tools that I use, maybe you pick up one or two, and maybe my story will help somebody out there. And also, I am a recovering alcoholic. I'm happy to talk about what functioning alcoholism looks like and what recovery looks like.
Awesome. All right, so let's take the first caller. Hi, you're on the air with Jeannie and Valerie. Who are we speaking with? Can you hear us? Nope. I'm so sorry. We can't hear you guys. Try calling back. Okay.
So
Hi, you're on Angels Don't Lie with Jeannie and Valerie. Can you hear us? No, I don't know what's happening. Hold on 1 minute.
no problem. I love your background, Jeannie. It's so pretty.
Thank you. Let's see if I get this right. Hi, you're on the air with Jeannie and Valerie. Can you hear us? No, guys, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I am going to just cancel it because clearly, we're not supposed to take the calls, and I'm not even going to like freak out about it. I'm just not going to go there, Valerie. So let's go ahead and put them in the comment section, and we will scroll through and answer you. I think that's the best thing.
Be a conversation. So please take a minute to just write your questions in the comments. So at least I can try to answer some questions in the comments. And
I'm just going to take a look and see if I see any questions. And in the meantime, do you want to tell them a little bit about what it looked like for you as you were healing and recovering from that huge surgery? Like you talked about in the book about when you stopped drinking, but then you also were talking about like what it felt like in your body, right? Like what?
Yeah. So I one of the other lessons I learned was the importance of having multiple tools to pick up, because I relied heavily on exercise alone. And there are times when you just can't exercise your way out of depression, and so anyhow, when that main tool that I really relied on a lot was taken away from me when I was recovering from my surgery, it did trigger my personal depression. And I talk about, again, I really like to simplify this because, again, I did not go to school for a bachelor in psychology, as my beautiful daughter's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to really simplify it and think of my acute depression that I went through as an illness. It's in remission now, thankfully. But I had moments of it throughout my life. And the last time I could remember, or the first time I can remember feeling that way, was a postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. And I think after losing my mom, it was a combination. When you remove breast tissue, you also remove estrogen. So I think I was having a hormonal reaction. I was having a situational reaction, and it triggered depression. So I couldn't exercise. So all of these things were kind of building up. And over time, what happened was when everything was kind of settling down and I could go back to exercise, it wasn't working. Like I still needed more help. So, so for me, what it looked like for the recovery, what happened was, let me back up a little bit, because sobriety plays a huge, huge part of this. It was another tool that I needed to pick up. I needed to become sober. I am a functioning alcoholic. So I would
explain that.
So I'm a highly functioning alcoholic, meaning you probably didn't even know that I had a problem with alcohol. Most people in my life didn't know that I had a problem with alcohol because I didn't drink often. But when I did, I liked to basically get drunk. I drank to get drunk. I could not safely drink. Like something in my brain after taking that first drink is like, this is what it feels like to feel calm. Right. I want more of that, right? So, but it wasn't that bad because I could still go to work. I could still be a mom. I could still, be a coach. I could be all these things for other people. And and I could go long periods from abstaining from alcohol. So I abstained from alcohol when the kids were little. I abstained from alcohol when I went through my health scare, when my daughter went through her health scare. Like there were periods of time where I linked years of abstaining from alcohol together. And I was even not drinking when I lost my mom. Then in 2015, another awful thing happened, which I won't even get into. But I was like, you know what? what am I doing? Like, why am I being so hard on myself? Like, screw that. Like, life's too short. Like, I just started lying to myself, whatever I had to say to like make it okay for me to pick up a beer again. Right. And so as soon as I started drinking again in 2015, I had 2 very hard years. And they say that like alcoholism is a progressive disease. So for those of you who know somebody who's battling addiction or have been through it, themselves would probably relate to this. Like the next time that I picked up, it was the worst 2 years. Like it got worse because I wasn't healed, because I had all these traumatic things happen. My reaction to alcohol changed. My physical reaction to alcohol changed. So it was no longer fun. Those people that were around me when I was drinking during that time, and I'd catch a buzz or, maybe be drunk. I was having conversations that nobody wanted to hear at a party. Like, oh, let's talk about, how you lost your mom, or let's talk about what it's like to raise, teenagers. Like, right. I would just go to a very dark place. And then lastly, what happened was I started noticing when I'd wake up, not only was I hungover, but I was anxious a lot. So it was triggering this anxiety.
I want to ask them, like, you guys are getting this? Like, is anybody else like feeling this? Like you have any of the same things? Like, I think I went through a season of this, quite a while back when I was drinking all of the time. And then waking up and being like, I feel awful. And just, yeah.
Yeah. And I would wake up like in a cold sweat. I would wake up like routinely, like in this anxious state. And, I like to really, say that, for those people that have certain mental illnesses, like, anxiety or depression, it's not who we are. It's just sometimes how we feel. And I didn't want to feel that anymore. I just didn't want to feel that anymore. And I'm like, God, like something's got to change. Like your mom handed you this map, Valerie. Why do you continue to go down the same road she is? She told you, like, if you go down this road to the left, I'm telling you, there's potholes here. It's a really bumpy road. Like, but there's like, try that road to the right. It's a smoother, newly paved road. You can make it your own journey. Like, please do that. Like, it was like, hello, why would I not do that? So it was like the last piece of the puzzle. And people ask me that all the time. Like, what do you think came first, your depression or your alcoholism? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, you can't have one without the other. So
yeah, like, it was all part of me, but it wasn't who I was. So something had to change. So everything I've ever done in my life that I've been good at, I've done because I've linked myself up with like-minded people that that inspired me. So I knew that I needed to join a program, and I'm very discreet about what that program is, but I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty smart and can pick up on it. I needed to be accountable to other alcoholics.
Right.
I needed to be accountable just the same way as I was in my fitness and my physical fitness. My spiritual fitness needed that accountability. So when I linked up with a group of people who were in recovery, I got better. And it was through that power of surrender. We say that, like, power of surrender, that I had to learn about. And I don't mean just surrendering alcohol. I mean surrendering my control over people, places, and things.
Yes. So I just do want to say, guys, I see you're putting in that the phone line is down. You're right. The phone line is not working at all. So we took it down. If you have a question, you can put it in the comment section. I'm sorry about that. Clearly, God is just giving us a little leeway just to have a good conversation here. So you can lean in, and there's nothing I can do about that phone line not working. So sorry.
Yeah, maybe hold on to write them in the comments, but maybe hold on to those questions, and maybe we'll do a follow-up one. Yeah,
definitely. And then we can try that out. I love that you are sharing like those pieces of you. And my feeling, like, it is who I am. I get this feeling all around you, you taking on this next phase of your life. It feels really amazing. Like, with the writing and with kind of going in places that you didn't even think. I feel like they're leading you to even more, I want to say, yumminess and more high vibration things. Does it make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
Are those the
And
nudges, the nudges you've been getting too?
totally, like even in my professional life, like I'll work
Mhm.
hard, and every job is going to have its roses and thorns, but I'll work hard, but I know, like, I've learned to ask specifically for what I want, pray for specifically for what I want, but
Right.
be willing to accept God's will.
Oh,
you know
yes.
so I just keep like say, okay, well, I'll take the lesson from this one, moving on, or whatever it is. Like, I tell my kids all the time, like, yeah, you got to follow your heart, but take your mind with you, take your brain with you. We got to
Right.
make some choices. But I'm really trying to be open to, okay, I'm just not a big believer in you have to be one place at work and one place in your private life. I want to be surrounded by the right vibrations professionally, personally, everything I do. Like, who wouldn't? Why would I want to go to work and feel one thing?
I
Beat my
love that. That's
and
another thing I love that you just said, because that's exactly what the angel said. Like when the beginning, when I was doing my work and my healing work, I was like over there doing it here, and then I was at home because I was afraid. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of angst, and then I was a different way in some relationships. Some people I shared, and some people I didn't. And then when I had to kind of crack my own code, was integrating all of those things together and to be
Mhm.
the one me, because it was like almost exhausting, kind of
Oh my God.
separating yourself,
Yeah,
and you don't realize that that is a form of also enabling and people pleasing. It really lowers your personal frequency, so then you attract more of the same lower frequencies coming in.
absolutely.
um
I do. Does somebody have
Sorry.
a question? Because I do have a funny
Yes.
story to share with you.
Let's see, Tara's on here. Tara Walker. Does my son have anything to say to me? Okay. I feel like Tara's in a similar situation. That's the feeling I get, Tara. I think your question is delivered toward me. So do you want to say something to Tara first, because she did lose her son by suicide, and I feel like you might offer a piece, and I will just deliver messages after.
Yeah, I mean, that's first of all, my love goes out to you. I can't even imagine what that's got to be like, and nor would I want to. So just as a mom, my love goes out to you, and I'll continue to lift you up in my prayers too. Jeannie, that's a hard one. I mean, it's just such a hard one. I did say something the other day, where people will say to you, time heals all wounds. I unfortunately think that this beautiful woman's gonna get up every day and probably have to relive some of this, and and do it with people that love you. Just do it with people
Yeah.
that will surround you and love you, and take it literally second by second. I will say this, I believe in my heart of hearts that people who die by suicide are probably up in paradise being loved so much more now, because you know I believe that God knows our hearts, and God knows your beautiful son's heart, and he is safe and loved and at peace. And I have no doubt that he wants you to find that peace, and in any way that you can here on earth. And just my love is with you. I'm so sorry.
Tara, I feel the same as what Valerie's saying. We have a season of grief when we, I feel like what you said about like time heals all wounds. Well, it's interesting to say something so blanketed over something so horrendous. But my feeling is, first and foremost, he gives me this sense around my head. So I don't know why he's showing me like a helmet. And he definitely is in heaven. He's showing me like this beautiful scene, but he's talking about a desert, and he's showing me the desert. I don't know what this means for you or for him. And I want to circle back to grief because he's bringing this in. He said, the grief is like a journey through a desert. It is through hard times, and, sometimes searching for water and being really like angst and alone. And he said, but then there are people that support you and lift you. So the healing, he said, is going to take over time, and grief is our personal journey. It's how we're going to go through it, but we all are going to experience some form of grief in our life, and some people's just seems so much bigger. But then they crack open like Valerie, and they share their stories, and they share their wounds, and they share all of their love to remind us to be lifted. I'm getting so emotional right now. So this is what he's feeling for me. He's like very emotional. He's all like welled up in tears. He's telling me how much he loves you. He's also like, he's claiming responsibility in a way where it's so soft and it's so sweet about him. He's such a gentle soul, but I do feel like he was really misunderstood, and he was misguided in his energy. So he could feel energy, so he would go in places that weren't him. So he said, this is why I was reactive in ways that wasn't like me, and I would say things that weren't me, that didn't sound like me. He said, because I would feel them from someone else and I would take them on as myself. He said it was like I was impersonating myself. I didn't know where I started and where the other person ended. He is just showering with you love and signs, and he's saying, my mom sees me, she talks to me, she knows I'm right there. He says it's really important for you to have support like Valerie, support like understanding that your grief isn't supposed to box you in, it's supposed to crack you open in a way that you bloom. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. And please don't isolate. I don't know you. I don't know how you cope, so I don't want to assume anything. I will just share with you that that's what my mother did, and that is a very, very dangerous thing to do. So please.
She's saying she doesn't have support.
She doesn't. So,
yeah.
So please allow yourself to. Is she local, Jeannie?
I don't think so, Tara. And I isolate, she says. So look, you're here right now. This is you breaking out. This is you coming forward. And I think your beautiful friend Melissa is who tagged you, so you would come today, and know that that's God's way of leading you here, leading you to love. And
look, I will say also, look on Facebook. So baby steps to finding connections, right? I actually really like social media for the positives it can bring, and it can keep you connected. So baby steps toward maybe reaching out to a group for parents who have lost a child to suicide. And
yes.
I'm probably pretty certain that those groups do exist, because it's awful. I mean, I can think of two locally. That's why I asked if you were local. Two local mothers in our community that I know that's how they lost their child. And I have no doubt that social media probably has a support group like that. So
isn't that what you shared
really
that in the book about one when you went through your mastectomy, right?
Yeah.
You shared that you found a group, and that's really how you found more information.
Yeah, that's where I started. So I started with my subject matter. So start with your subject matter, because you're going to be able to ask questions that people will be able to share in their pain, but also they're going to be able to share in the tools that are helping them to move through this. You're not going to get over it. I understand that, but you're going to be able to move through. I have no doubt that you will. God put you in our conversation today for a reason. There's a reason, right? So that you're talking with us today. And thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable to post that question.
So Tara, and that makes sense of what he was showing me around the head. And Melissa, you're right. He is sending so much love, and that about how he hurt her, but like also just know how he is healed. He stands really confidently in his body, Tara. The way he's standing, he couldn't stand during his time here. I believe the soul knows when they are just so off the path, and returning home, returning to that space where he was going to receive unconditional love. That was his choice in healing. That's the best way I can describe that. And that's what that is. It's a healing. When we die, we heal completely, 100%, from our fears, from our addictions, from our shame, from our traumas, from everything that we pick up in this life. And that's our journey here, is to go through these ebbs and flows of highs and lows and yumminess and whatever. It's just our journey. he knows that love. He knows you're with him and he's with you. So I do hope that you can find some help. And listen, you guys, I know Valerie puts it in her book. She shares that there's support in many different forms out there to receive love, to receive even just like this community, Facebook private groups, and there are organizations on the outside. Google's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh.
So, wow, huge, 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 huge. Tara, I do hope that served you, my love, and we'll be holding you in our thoughts and our prayers.
Are you ready for an enlightened perspective? Do you want reassurance, answers, and closure? During your medium reading, God will guide me to support you in healing grief, feelings of loss, and sadness. Receiving messages from your departed loved ones provide you with the blessings of love, light, and the ability to move forward. These are conversations with heaven. Through my God-based medium readings, I channel divine love, angelic tones, and spirit to aid your healing and release from emotional pain. During your 60 or 30-minute reading, I will work with spirit to bring personal and validating messages from your departed loved ones and your angels. This guidance will support and empower you to make positive changes that you can move forward in your life living as your highest soul self. Book your session today at JeanneStreet.com.
So I thank you, Valerie. This has been like such a huge, deep and intimate conversation. Thank you for being brave and cracking open and sharing your words. You guys, it's on Amazon, right? And do you want to share where they can find more about you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Valerie Walsh. My profile is public now because I've connected with some great people on different platforms. So you can connect with me there. I also have a Facebook page called Core Fitness Method, and I share some tools there, mostly about exercise and your physical health tips there. And also on Instagram, more for my writing, you can follow me on Valerie J. Walsh author.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like
and then
your J.
Valerie,
Walsh.
Well, Valerie J. Walsh, I had to put, and I'm just going to give another writer who doesn't need it a total plug right now, but apparently Valerie Walsh is the creator of Dora the Explorer.
Yay.
So when I went to go get published, I said, oh, shoot, I can't use that. So I put the J in there. So Valerie J. Walsh.
There you go.
It's shattered to the core. And
let's both do it. Do it. We'll
yay.
I can take a screenshot
right now is I will share. So I got to tell you this. Can I close with one funny story?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, because this will bring you kind of up to current times, and there is hope. There's such hope and power and healing. And my greatest healing has been in the power of surrender, and surrendering and standing in my truth. Right. So I just went on this job interview, and there was a lot of pressure on this job interview. So I, show up in my suit and I'm all ready, and I go up the elevator with this recruiter, and she asked me, "Are you ready for this?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I'm ready." And I step off the elevator and she's like, "Okay, I'll see if they're ready for you." And I walk in, and I'm not even kidding. I'm going to paint the picture for you. It was a ginormous conference table with 5 men on sitting around on the other end of the table, and a bottle of water at the head of the table for me. Right. And the recruiter left, and it was going to be my interview time. And they all got up. They were very nice, came over to shake my hand. I said, "Is this for me?" And they're like, yeah, you can sit there. So I picked up the water, and I'm like, "Do you mind if I come a little bit closer? Because this is all intimidating." And they all started laughing because, it was funny. And we, kind of disarmed the tense feeling in the room with a little humor. And from there, it was just a great interview. And to circle back to what you're saying, it's yeah, I was nervous. Of course, I'm human. I had some nerves, but they calmed down. And I just reminded myself, Valerie, be professional. You have a certain decorum that you have to have, right? But at the end of the interview, like, I just wanted to be myself because I would be doing them a disservice and me a disservice if I was anything but. Like, let's just find that out now, if I'm the right person for this account or not, and vice versa. Right? So
Right.
it's just so great to be able to do that finally. And it took me years to get here. Years. I lived lots of my life in an anxious state, and I'm so super grateful to this and to all of you for allowing me to open up. And it's all been because of love and kindness. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's huge, right? Love and kindness. It serves on many levels. And, I love that you kind of just said, like, it took you years, but like how you just reverted back to yourself, into your adult version of you, of being safe and held and being like, well, let me come over there, guys.
Yeah.
Because this feels a little weird. And that's our goal, right? Is to heal those layers from whatever it looks like for you. Well, this has been such a yummy, good conversation. And I can't imagine you in a suit. I'm just going to say, because I've only known Valerie in, sweat, yoga pants and workout clothes. Oh, and I did say I was going to share that I worked, Valerie was my coach at one time. She was coaching me fitness, and
back
when
on
I was
Zoom days.
Yep. That right during the pandemic, because that's when I was like kind of hitting my wine with Molly at 5. We were like, well, maybe it's 4, maybe it's safe. And I was like, I have to turn this around. Like, this is not who I am. So that habit could quickly get out of hand.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you, Jeannie. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody for tuning in too.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And I know what I know, because angels don't lie. I'll be back in the comment sections if I missed anybody, and I'll pop in those comments. And Valerie, please feel free if you want to jump in on any of them as well.
Okay, will do. I'll check them out. Thank you all so much. I'm sending all the love right back at you.
All right, guys, we'll see you later.